The Domestic Violence and Victim Support Unit, DOVSU, says it's now able to process cases on gender and sexual violence in 10 minutes, a process that took more than a month to execute 2 years ago. The unit's new electronic data management system is now aiding collection and collation of information and has replaced the manual means by which data was tabulated and forwarded to DOVSU offices by personnel. Officials revealed this during a media engagement this afternoon. Ifwa Evans-Chenery has more.
The unit's new electronic data management system, which was launched 2 years ago, is an electronic means of collecting, collating and disseminating information on sexual and gender-based violence. According to the online consultant of the data management system of DOVSU, Sananu Agbozo, during the third quarter of last year, the positive impact of the system was felt by DOVSU in all the regions. The online consultant addressing the media noted that so far 40 individuals have been trained to man the system in all 10 regions. He says despite all of this, there are some challenges that still needs to be addressed.
The major challenge is, of course, logistics. Bear in mind that this is a pilot project by the UNFPA to help collate data on gender and sexual-based violence. So across the country, we've noticed that, of course, there are a lot of deficiency in logistics, computers, printers, connectivity, data connectivity across the divisions and districts. The regions don't have problem because I know all the regions are connected. So it's now with the district and the division. That's why we are calling upon all stakeholders to come on board to support this project. It's a very, very lovely one. It's helping those to collect data in a very timely and efficient manner. So we call on stakeholders to support in that regard here.
Electronic system has 3 modules, namely the user interface, administrator interface and data analysis interface, and has its web page incorporated into the Ghana Police Service website. Mr. Agbozo observed that the DOVSU report features on the web page quarterly with the system running from Monday to Friday. He mentioned assault, abandonment of infant, abduction, compulsory marriage and early marriage as some of the offences being featured on the system.
Now, Communications Minister Lawusu Ekufo has denied ever requesting data on mobile money customers from the Bank of Ghana for the purpose of monitoring the revenue of telcos in November. Cited a letter from the Communications Ministry asking the Bank of Ghana to release the data to a private contractor, Kelni GVG. One of the letters, signed by Anastasia Mafo from the Communications Ministry, said, quote, "The level of disrespect exhibited by the bank in this matter is simply appalling," end quote. Well, this was after the central bank, in a letter signed by the Secretary Francis Van Hein Saki, insisted the request by the ministry is an invasion of privacy of mobile money subscribers. But the minister at the Meet the Press series denied ever requesting such information.
I don't know what you mean by Kelni GVG. I do know that we have engaged a contractor to assist the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Communications to set up a common monitoring platform. So let's refer to it by its proper name. I have not requested the Bank of Ghana to give me any information whatsoever. The mobile monitoring component of the common monitoring platform was at the direct request of the Ministry of Finance and the Ghana Revenue Authority. They need to ensure that the common monitoring platform receives the information that it requires from all agencies that they consider within their regulatory framework. And as we speak, the Ghana Revenue Agency has informed all mobile money operators of the requirements that they need to be provided for the common monitoring platform to enable the Ghana Revenue Authority perform its revenue, its regulatory and tax compliance functions. And I believe that is being addressed at least.
Well, the minister has also been speaking about the controversial medical drone project. She says the ministry will ensure they provide Zipline with the necessary infrastructure for a successful takeoff.
We don't have to wait until every digital address has been fully recorded and registered in the digital address register before people can start utilizing that database for their records. As we indicated when we were launching the digital property address system, the system has capability for providing a digital address for every 5 by 5 square meter space. And so that data is available. All the health centers which are going to be part of the Zipline project will have digital addresses. CHIPS compounds, health centers currently would have digital addresses. And so once Parliament has given approval for this project to commence, the actual implementation of the project, a lot of discussions and conversations are going to be had amongst the various actors who will make this project successful, and that includes Ghana Post. And so yes, we have had discussions with them prior to the contract being sent to Parliament. We will continue to engage with them to ensure that the purposes for which this project is being implemented are fully achieved. And these addresses are pre-programmed into the drones. So when they take off, they know exactly where they're going. They're like missiles. You do not program it mid-air, no. Before it is launched, it knows its destination. And that's the way the Zipline process also works.
Well, she also announced that transmission on the digital terrestrial television platform will begin in the first quarter of 2019 and added that applications for access to the platform have increased, with international networks such as BBC and the CNN agreeing to localize their content.
There are many pending applications for digital terrestrial television broadcasting authorizations. Existing regions and the new regions to be created will also require localized channels on the platform. Adequate capacity also has to be provided to accommodate broadcasters who have secured premium content rights, i.e. pay-per-view events, and want to transmit through the platform. International broadcast companies, France 24, CNN, BBC, etc., have also expressed an interest in localizing their content on the DTT platform when capacity is available. We have completed the provision of dedicated power to 37 DTT transmission sites in 8 regions across the country. All other sites have dedicated power. Testing is ongoing, and the switchover is scheduled to commence in the first quarter of next year.
Esla Owusu-Ekuful is the communications minister there. Let's go back to our earlier story about You're welcome back. Showbiz is coming up in a short while, but before that, all is set in Yendi as the Abudu royal family awaits handing over of the Gbewa Palace for the necessary rituals and the funeral rites. The Abudu clan in Dagbon will temporarily take custody of the Gbewa Palace for the performance of the final funeral rites for the late Yana Muhammadu Abdullahi. The rites, part of the roadmap to peace reached by the Asante-Hene-led group of eminent chiefs, will end on the 23rd of this month. Martina Bugri reports some drumming and dancing greeted visitors and dignitaries who thronged the old Bewa Palace ahead of the funeral rites of the late Yana Muhammadu Abdullahi. There's also calm and brisk business. But ahead of the final rites tomorrow, the chief of Diyali, one of the elders of the Abudu family, Na Abukari Abdullahi, has warned the youth in the area not to expect any intervention by him if they are found with ammunition other than the prescribed ones for the funeral. He said they are in Yendi to perform funerals and not for war. Speaking to JoyNews' Martina Bugri, Na Muhammadu Abdullahi said, government has assured it will firmly ensure the law and interests of the people prevail over any selfish desires.
We are in peace to perform the funeral rites. When we finish the first one, we'll get to the other one. And then we sit for the selection of a Yana. It's drawing our education backward, dragging Dagbang backward. We want Dagbang to regain its stature in the annals of history. If anybody refuses the government's initiative like this one, then it's left onto the security force and the government, and that we've not come for a fight. We are in to help perform the funeral rites. And a law that is brought by the government, we shall not renege on that promise that we have made. That is the message I have. I have a message. I'm advising the youth to all be peaceful and restrain themselves. Yeah. The state in which Dagbang is now, the extent of damage being caused, if we don't get a amicable settlement to it and we die, then it will be bad for us. If this funeral is finally performed, then we will vacate the palace for the other one to be performed and also vacate the palace. Then we leave the house vacant. And then the customs will select the chief for us. And then we send the chief to the government. The message I have is that if anybody comes with weapons and it is not that kind of musketry for the funeral, if the person is arrested, I'm not in for that person in defense. If anybody makes disturbances or cause chaos and is arrested, I'm not in to defend such a person.
All right, my colleague Martina Bugri, she's been on the ground since yesterday. She joins us live via Skype from Yendi. Good evening to you, Martina. We've heard from the leadership, the traditional leaders in the north, talking about the need to progress and ensure lasting peace. Tell us or describe the mood for us in the town, even as they prepare to begin the final funeral rites.
When you look around, people are expected that at long last, peace is going to the area. If they have the place is very full, I'm sure people have home at this time of the day. But you come to the
So you heard there my colleague Martina Bugri. Unfortunately, we cannot get her on Skype. The connection isn't too good, so we'll speak to her on the line, on the telephone line. Martina, you're talking about the mood in the town ahead of the final funeral rites being performed there.
Yes, like I said earlier on, it's for the people of Dagbang. People have traveled from far and near to the town to celebrate this occasion. They see it as a celebration because for 30 years they have waited for this moment. and the movement is here for them. And so people normally would have been indoors by now because the Harmattan has started. The place is very cold. But a lot of people are outside the palace, the old Bewa Palace, which was renovated and handed over to the family this evening, waiting for the Bolinlana, who I'm told is preparing to come and occupy the place.
And very quickly, Martina, are you able to run us through, events lined up for tomorrow's program?
Tomorrow in the morning, they'll be drumming and dancing here. And then in the afternoon, I'm told he will be installed the regent, and then he will be brought to officially outdoors to the rest of the world. And so currently what they are going to do is they are coming in, clerics are coming in to recite the Quran and then pave way for his entry into the home.
Very well, Martina, many thanks for that update. Martina Bugri is our Northern Regional correspondent. We're taking a short... You're welcome back. Now, tension marked today's burial of 4 residents of Fuase killed in alleged shooting of protesters opposing the relocation of Echimakwa district capital from Fuase to Chedie. The 4 were shot on 7th February 2018, and the family of the victims pledged never to bury the dead until investigations into the shooting was complete. Well, before we bring you the story of the burial, let's bring back excerpts of the Hotline documentary, As If We Weren't Human, which brought back the cold case to the burner.
On 7th February 2018, residents of Fuase in the Akwema Kwawoma district of the Ashanti region protested the relocation of district capital Fuase to Chedie. The police and military teams were sent to maintain peace, but it turned tragic as 4 people were killed and many injured. Stephen Insia narrates that on that day, he went to run an errand for his church when he was shot.
So when I was going, there was a crowd making something like they were making noise. And when I got there, I stood there and called my friend, and he said he's around that area. I said, okay, I'm also here, so you should come and let us settle everything that. You should come and let us settle what he told me. And the police guys came, and the moment they landed, they just make shooting. So I was panicked. I couldn't go back, and I couldn't go forward. So I decided to find a place to hide. What I just seen is I was at the hospital and was paralyzed, and I couldn't do anything. So that is what all about what I can say.
Well, today, angry mourners were incensed by the sight of 2 uniformed policemen accompanying a government delegation at the funeral grounds. Ashanti Regional Minister Simon Osei-Mensah and Deputy Local Government Minister Akwesi Boateng-Eji led the team. It took the intervention of officials of the National Peace Council, traditional leaders and military to calm down the charged crowd which hooted at the officials. My colleague, Ohiming Tewia, who's been on the beat, reports the situation compelled the officiating minister to end the requiem mass abruptly.
Residents wept uncontrollably, filing past bodies of Seth Danso, Prince Boateng, Kojo Ofori and Douglas Adair as they lay in state. They were allegedly killed by police officers who opened fire on residents protesting the relocation of the capital of Echimakwa district from the town to nearby Chedie.
Douglas Ade, Prince Boateng, and I said Dansunti.
Tributes poured in for the men, described as breadwinners for their families. For their families, the reality of their death since February now dawned on them more than ever.
In fact, we had the hope that our brothers and sisters and all those who were affected could come back to life and to continue what they were doing for the community. But today, we have no hope that we will see them, engage them anymore, because they are going to the land of no return.
The solemn atmosphere, however, became charged when government delegation led by the Ashanti Regional Minister arrived. In their midst were two uniformed police personnel, the sight of whom appeared to have changed the mood of the people. Order prevailed following intervention of local and visiting leaders. Kumasi Bishop of the Methodist Church, Reverend Christopher Nyako Andam, had to cut short his sermon as he advised residents to overcome the loss and move on. Right Reverend Christopher Nyako Andam, who is also chairman of the Ashanti Regional Peace Council, later spoke to JoyNews.
Greeted the regional minister and the delegation from Accra. We also greeted Nananom. Then we greeted the crowd before we sat. From the side of Nananom especially, they said that they wish that the service will be brief. So I wasn't, even without that caution, I wasn't going to preach for long, looking at the tension.
Meanwhile, the National Peace Council says it is happy to have cleared what it describes as the first hurdle towards restoring peace to Fwasi. It comes as government pays medical bills of victims.
I'll answer in the affirmative. We are making peace. Peace building takes time. And oftentimes it depends on the kind of conflicts you are handling. This one has involved human life, so it's quite critical. I think since its inception, the beginning of it, the Peace Council has been highly involved. Even the immediate past council that was resolved recently. After the issue, it didn't take them 1 week to come over. Normally when such a thing happens, sometimes it becomes the community and the politicians sort of. And so it took the Peace Council to calm down the situation.
From Fwasi in the Ashanti region for JoyNews, Ohime Nteria reports.
Now, JoyNews investigations have uncovered how some doctors and nurses at the Tamale Teaching Hospital have been extorting monies from patients at the maternity ward. Mothers who are unable to pay these monies are detained at the facility. JoyNews' Kwete Nate and Hashmin Mohammed report how these health officials even demand monies from fathers who wish to find out the sex of the newly born babies.
This assignment is important because the extortion by health officials will not only make people shy away from accessing health care in the hospitals for fear of being charged exorbitant fees, but also compel them to resort to dangerous self-medication options. Others are likely to be denied treatment for non-payment of these exorbitant fees. I have come across Al-Hassan, a depressed-looking husband expecting his second child. Doctors are demanding he pays 108 cedis for a drug to induce his wife's pregnancy. He had already made substantial payment since she was admitted. His wife has been rushed to the emergency ward, but without the money, doctors will not operate on her.
I took my wife to hospital for checkup. When she went there, they told her to come back on Monday, that when she comes on Monday and she hasn't delivered, they'll operate on her. So last Monday, I've sent my wife to hospital to check up to see whether the operation will still goes on or not. When I sent my wife, they've told her that we should go and do scanning. When we did the scanning, I went out and paid for the scanning. When we did the scanning, then she came back. They've told her that the operation has been cancelled, that she can deliver normally. So, but they've said the BP is up small, so we should go and buy a certain drug that they use to induce ladies to give birth. So I gave money to my wife to go and buy that drug too. Yesterday, they've said that they have to do scanning again. It's like the baby is having too much weight that the baby cannot come out. So I went there this morning. They've called me this morning. They said I should come. That is an emergency. I should come to see something. When I went to the hospital, the doctor said they have to operate my wife because the child is having too much weight. So they said it is an emergency, so they have to operate on her. So one of my friends followed me to the hospital. My friend went for the drugs and paid some of the monies for the drugs and collected those that they've said the health insurance have covered. So after that, they've said they are now to prepare my wife for the CS. I came down, they've sent us all down, and they've said they are going to send inside theater. We were down there when they've called us again and said we are supposed to pay 108 Ghana cedis, a certain 108 Ghana cedis. Then we went. When we went, we asked them, what are we paying the 100 Ghana cedis for? They said that one is for some drugs that they've used and the health insurance did not cover. Meanwhile, we already bought some of the drugs that they've said health insurance has not covered.
He doesn't have a penny on him. The longer he waits, the more likely it will be that he will lose his wife and his unborn baby. I join him on his motorbike in search of money. He knocks on the doors of relatives and families for 108 cedis. The fate of his unborn child and wife hang in the balance.
After
an hour, he finally raises the money. We head back to the ward. A doctor who identified as Mohammed takes the money but will not provide receipt when we demanded it.
So please, you say we should pay how much?
86.
Okay.
So actually it's 180 cedis. Didn't get them?
Yes.
So I can take up the anesthesia assessment, but the drugs, there's nothing you can do.
Okay.
Have you seen the baby? Have you seen the baby?
Not yet.
The baby has been delivered.
Yes, baby is delivered. So you go.
Al-Hassan recounts the experience.
So we paid that 108 Ghana cedis, asked for a receipt, and they said the receipt is not there, that they are not to give us any receipt.
So you watch, there are excerpts of the Hotline documentary, Robbing the Sick. The full documentary will air on the 17th of December on the JoyNews channel, right on this channel. be sure to make a date. Now, the minority in Parliament is demanding that government abrogates a 100 million cedi contract for the supply of streetlights handed to a company that has been in existence for only 1 year. They say the company, Imperial World Ventures, is a sole proprietorship firm which was awarded the contract last year to supply 150 watts LED streetlights. A Shaman MP, Ernest Norgwe, quizzed the Energy Minister Peter Amewu on the issue on the floor of Parliament today. Mr. Norgwe is describing the contract as fraudulent and corrupt and is questioning why it was awarded through restrictive bidding instead of open competitive bidding.
Imperial Ventures is not qualified to supply over 100 million worth of items to the Republic of Ghana. Not at all, because it was formed in 2017, 20th April. And as we speak now, it has not undertaken anything worth of even 10 million Ghana cedis before it will go to 100 million Ghana cedis. So you will realize that, should I say it is a creation of job for the boys or just awarding contract to cronies in this party? And that is my position here. They have violated the Public Procurement Act. And this is not only the case. If this government wants the promises that they have promised Ghanaians, they want to go by them, then they have to follow due process. They should not hide behind the Public Procurement Act to perpetuate their illegalities.
Okay. What exactly should happen to the contract?
The contract should be cancelled immediately, or the minister should provide us the evaluation report for the pre-qualification and the post-qualification. If the minister is able to provide us the evaluation report, and we have studied it and we see that it's genuine and it meets the standard and the procedures.
But from what you've seen thus far,
for now, for my investigation as a person, as a minority person, from my investigation, knowing that this company has registered on the 20th of April 2017, a year ago, I even filed this particular question somewhere in April, and it is now coming. Okay. So you can understand where I'm coming from. This is fraud. I must be frank with you, because when you look at the procedure and you look at the company involved, you will realize that the company does not qualify to even engage in this kind of, a huge amount of money, 100 million Ghana cedis, a sole proprietor.
But Energy Minister Peter Amewu insists the right processes were followed before the contract was awarded.
The procurement method used in award of the contract was the restricted tendering process, which, Mr. Speaker, it's in accordance with Section 38B of Act 663 of the Public Procurement Act as amended. Mr. Speaker, it is to be noted that the Ministry obtained approvals from the Public Procurement Authority and the Central Tender Review Committee prior to the award of this contract. The Ministry has a list of pre-qualified contractors that undertake projects as and when the Ministry determines the availability of such projects. Mr. Speaker, the Procurement Authority, as we are aware, it's the responsible authority to grant the necessary approvals for such processes. This, Mr. Speaker, the authority has a mandate also to investigate and find out the competence in terms of qualifications, capability, core competence of some of these companies. I can assure the House that, Mr. Speaker, all those were taken into consideration both by the Ministry and the authority in the award of the contract.
Meanwhile, government has laid before Parliament a new bill that will create 3 new statutory public holidays while scrapping 2 others. Parliament has begun considering the bill for approval. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo has more.
The Public Holidays Amendment Act 2018 was laid on the floor of Parliament by the Interior Minister Ambrose Derry and has since been referred to the Defence and Interior Committee for consideration. Now, when this becomes law, we will see a situation where August 4 would be set aside as a holiday and it will be marked as Founders' Day. And according to the memo that came to Parliament, this is the date in the 1890s when the Aboriginal rights movement began the activities which eventually led to Ghana's independence, hence the designation of that particular date. Again, it would allow for the situation where we would have the 21st of September being celebrated as Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Day. That will be another holiday. You'd recall that we've been celebrating that for a while, but the criticism has been that there is no legal act from Parliament backing that particular celebration of that particular holiday. And then with the amendment to this act, we would once again see a situation where the 7th of January will be marked as Constitution Day henceforth, also as a statutory public holiday. Now, 2 existing holidays are being redesignated as commemorative days, which means they will be celebrated but they won't be marked as holidays. That is 25th of May, which is African Union Day, and additionally the 1st of July, which is Republic Day. Well, the minority are not exactly excited about this, and as Nogbe-based MP for Shaiman, he says he will eventually vote against this when the considerations begin.
It's just trying to create confusion and change the history of Ghana. Who are founders? How many people who found the country? Who are the founders?
So will you support the proposed amendments that we celebrate the Founders Day?
I will never support the proposed amendment. The founders, who are the founders? We should support the Founders Day. I mean, that is the founder with apostrophe before the S day, but not founders after apostrophe day. No, we have only one founder, and that is Dr. Kwame.
We're expecting that sometime soon, before the House goes on break in about 10 days' time, Parliament's Defence and Interior Committee will return to the House with a recommendation on whether this particular amendment should be approved or otherwise. From Parliament House in Accra, Joseph Opoku-Gakpo reporting.
And I'm Marba Kumsin. From me and the rest of the team, thank you for joining us. And remember, PM Express is coming up next with George Riafe. It's a business edition. Join them. Thank you for watching. Good night.
This is JoyNews Prime.